that our children, unfortunately, are fostered upon. Teachers who are teaching, primary school teachers, cannot on their own pass primary 4 exams, so which means their standard is far below just about primary 3, primary 3 standard. So
at best, they're just child minders, just clean up for them.
Exactly, but you ask again, what are the qualifications of these teachers who sat for these exams? And what, you know, exactly, the type of exams, you know, that, yes.
Okay, so let's see some other stories. Well, incidentally, that's the topic for discussion on Good Morning Nigeria today. So we'll find out more details on why we have gotten to that lowest ebb. Now, just on the front page of the Nigerian pilot, again, let's return to the Nigerian pilot. I have below the photograph of the governor of Oyo State, as well as Chief of Army Staff, and the Chief of Staff to the President, Malam Abakari, after the security meeting. The story below it is that of interest. Monkeypox virus reps summon health minister. As two writers should I say, lawmakers tax federal government on aggressive enlightenment as virus spreads, and cholera kills 184 in Zamfara, Kwara, and 6 others. This is coming from NCDC. I have no plan of running for president in 2019. This is coming from Vice President Yemi Osinbajo. So you find more details on page 5 and to pages 6 as well. Okay, return to 5 again. We have other stories. Buhari meets service chiefs. Remi Tinubu, why women are turning to drugs. And IMF, Nigeria will overtake South Africa in economic growth. State of roads, reps to drill Fashola. Quickly now to the leadership. Some other stories. We have some other stories. Just below the nameplate, we have Etunupe, Oni, others mobilize grassroots support for agricultural development. More details on page 7 of the paper. Now, insert, you have President commended over Bakassi Deep Seaport Transaction Advisor. If I'm greater details on page 15. Now, yes, I'm taking the list story for the leadership. Just beside the photograph is the story 2019. Northern PDP leaders insist party's ticket belongs to North. And there is a rider, 6 sanction against Fayose.
All right,
well, let's look at the economy, because the economic stories are dominating the papers, particularly with the letters written by the President to the National Assembly, both the Senate and the House of Rep, to seek approval of $5.5 billion to fund as part of the funding for the 2017 budget. You will recall that the 2017 budget is about 7.2 trillion, and it had in it already a projection of a deficit of 2.36. Therefore, it apparently, since that budget had been passed, the National Assembly had in principle endorsed the deficit. What the deficit now requires is that the request of the President is that the deficit, particularly those for the funding, are tied specifically to projects. They operate the Mambila Hydro Project, Nnamdi Azikiwe second runway. You recall that they had to shut down Abuja Airport for it. So they are now working ahead for contingency. In fact, it was members of the National Assembly who specifically included that in the budget. It was not included by the executive. So it is forward-looking. The other ones are the rail projects and also the Bodo-Boni roads in the south-south with a bridge across Bodo. The IMF has good news and is saying that in the 2018, Nigeria's economy will be going up by about 1.9%. And it also has projected that the forecast shows that Nigeria's economy is growing faster than South Africa. However, there is a caution there that our population growth as of about 2.7% might be an albatross on the growth of the economy.
Indeed, that story you just reviewed, it's on the front page of this day newspaper, just above the nameplate, and it's captioned, IMF, Nigerian economy to grow by 1.9% in 2018, but subdued by population growth of about 2.7%. And of course, that should be a cause for concern, really. But the lead story on this day front page, federal government voids NPA Intel's pilotage agreement, and it comes with a rider. It says contract was illegal ab initio. Well, now the very start picture we talked about earlier on, putting aside public sparks, Kachuku, Baru, chart way forward for all sector. Or Shimbajo, federal government considering proposal to support local goods. But this paper, that's this day, captioned that picture thus: temporary ceasefire.
Well, you can trust newspaper with sensation. But meanwhile, I think I need to draw attention to this good news. In fact, it's a mixed grill now. Youth coppers went to the bank to withdraw money. And while they were coming, they were accosted by some robbers. And the female youth copper was abducted in Nasarawa last Friday. However, with pressure from the security agencies, the NYSC, and the governor who put pressure on the traditional ruler in the area, they have been able to secure the release of the youth copper girl. She's now been freed. However, sadly, 2 other youth coppers who went to Asakio River to go and swim, unfortunately drowned. The NYSC is trying to make contact with the family to inform them.
I was wondering about this picture, putting aside public part, you know, it sends a lot of message to the public when it comes to issues of national interest. You know, you put away, you know, whatever grievances you have, and then, you know, come to agree, you know, so that the nation can move forward. Is that a lesson that we should learn from this? Well,
it shows that the 2 of them have a common objective. That was pushing forward to success the petroleum industry generally. Even in this part that is going on, if you look at it, it is a question of confusion about the perspective of the role of the minister, the board of the NNPC, and the tenders board. And it's a matter of the rules, the rule of the act of the NNPC and the Public Procurement Act. So gradually,
organizational chart should actually
yes, things will sort themselves out.
Should put that into the actual perspective for them to actually work out. Thank you very much, Bayo. That will be all for newspaper review this morning. We hope to see you again tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria. We'll take a break at this point. When we return, we'll take a look at an update on what election in Liberia is looking like.
Hate speech is not a joke. It incites genocide and crimes against humanity. Most of Africa's civil wars are caused by hate speech from one tribe against another. We don't want it here. The Nigerian government stands firm against hate speech.
I was distressed to notice that some of the comments, especially in the social media, have crossed our national red lines by daring to question our collective existence as a nation. This is a step too far.
One nation bound in freedom, peace and unity.
Nigeria, one nation, one people.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
There's such a thing as irresistible taste.
And you'll discover it in every pack of Chi Exotic. When you feel the need to just relax, get lost in the taste.
The taste of celebration.
So, indulge and get lost in the taste of the Chi Exotic range of delicious fruit blends.
Oh, I love the taste.
Chi Exotic Nectar. I love the taste.
People commit crime and are punished for what they did.
A crime is a crime and it has devastating effect.
They go to jail, and 2 years, 10 years, various prison terms. They come out and go home.
Hey, stop there! Where do you think you are going to?
They try to reintegrate with the society.
Is what? As convict. Come back, it's not that bad.
But does the society accept them?
The prison was just for punishment.
Stigma is another thought-provoking and rib-cracking episode of Professor John Bull. Join us this week as we take you on the journey of the story of an ex-convict with two-faced Dibia.
My canteen don't say to that black bless. What did he say you are? You are a cook or a native doctor? Restaurant I've been in a shrine.
Over and out.
Brought to you by Glow.
The largest data network. Glow. Unlimited.
Oga, open your full tank.
Hold on, please. Let me calm down.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Hope you've rubbed off your meter.
Oh, Oga, we no longer tamper with our fuel dispense meter because it is cheating and corruption. I will always sell fuel to all customers at the correct amount because change begins with me.
Nice one.
How much I got?
Fill up.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
From our wonderful family, meet our active triplets. Mixology, for example, mixes well with drinks. Then enjoy every quick meal with Slurp It Off. And everywhere you go, there is Go-Gurt. Packed with healthy nutrition, nourishing vitamins, power of protein, strength of calcium, revitalizing energy. Hollandia yogurt is bursting with goodness inside and out. Hollandia yogurt, it's all good.
All right, let's now take a voyage to Liberia, where we understand the presidential election has been conducted, that was yesterday, under peaceful atmosphere. But we have our correspondent, Omotala Omojola, who is among the ECOWAS observation team, and she's standing by to give us a true picture of what has happened. And she's joining us live via Skype. Hello, Omotala. How are you? Can you quickly tell us how the election went? We understand it was peaceful.
Yes, it was quite peaceful. The election was quite peaceful here. It was due to start at 8 a.m. and by the time the observation team were on ground, we noticed that everything was ready and the people were there. The officials were ready. The party agents were coordinated. It was almost seamless. However, they had their challenges. The challenges that we noticed is the fact that the process of voting was generally slow because probably due to what we understand is late votes, polling staff education, orientation, and so some of them, in some cases where we found out that some of them were very fast and they knew what to do, others were still here and there, they weren't quite sure of what to do. But overall, if you look at it, it was quite peaceful, and I'm particularly impressed about the turnout of people because we were not just in Monserrado, which is like in the county in Monrovia. We went outside Monrovia to a county called Biagi. It's a place called Kakata. And in that place as well, the turnout was massive. The people were patient. They really wanted to vote. But then, another thing I noticed is the fact that the election was supposed to close at 6 o'clock. Then when we came back to Monserrado, we went to a voting precinct with West Point precinct. It's like a slum area of Monrovia. We discovered there that there were so many people still on queue waiting to vote, and they were really complaining about the fact that they've not voted. But I gathered that something will be done, that once they're still on queue after 6, then they'll be allowed to vote.
Motala, I'm sure the situation that you've just painted will just be all over the country, Liberia, but between Monrovia and the other in the land. Was there a case of so much disenfranchisement, like you said? And how was the mood generally for voters?
Okay, if I get you well, you're asking if there's been cases of disenfranchisement. I wouldn't be able to say that, because what we gathered at the time that we were leaving the ground was the fact that as long as they're still on the queue. As a matter of fact, we saw in the West Point precinct there was like a ribbon that was used to demarcate the voting area where you queue from the other part of the area, and we noticed that the ribbon was placed behind the last person on queue as at that time. So I in that, okay, this is where it ends, and every other person, anybody that comes after this can't vote. But as long as you're there, you'll still be allowed to vote.
I feel as you getting at least we know they usually say, okay, they just don't go at once and the results are declared immediately. Sometimes you get to have a by-election. If I listen to your discussion with Ambassador Digun yesterday. So what are the feelings about when the result will start trickling in, and how soon do you foresee?
Okay, yesterday counting started because though voting, some people could not vote at 6 o'clock, could not meet the 6 o'clock deadline for all voters to participate. In some other voting precincts, it was quite fast. Like when we started yesterday, it's called 12 Cinco, one high school there, and there by the time we got there at a few minutes past 6, voting was concluded, and the starting counted right before us. They started counting. However, the result, it's Liberian electoral authority have actually it's everywhere that a result will be announced on the 25th of October. So we can't say for now, but it's until the NEC officials come out to say this is, maybe they are announcing results. But so far everything has been beautiful.
All right, Murtala, we would have loved to ask you more questions, but the feel as we get is, of course, we have other, issue we would like to discuss. But maybe briefly, if I'm permitted to ask you, what do you think are the observed lessons, comparatively with what we have here from the Liberian election?
About the observers, if you're talking about the observers, we have quite a number on ground with international observers. Like they say that this transition for Liberia is very critical, and I guess the world is key into that, and just to make sure that there is peace everywhere. We have several observer missions on ground, and what's beautiful about it is the fact that most of them are collaborating to ensure that there are no loopholes. There are no loopholes. And I must tell you that I am particularly impressed with the situation rooms. Yesterday we were at 3 different situation rooms, the one by ECOWAS, another one organized by ECOWAS Commission here in Liberia in conjunction with WANEP, which is a women's civil society group. And then we're the women situation room. I'm impressed because immediately the observers notice something on ground. The situation room is contacted, and then there's a way the situation room contacts the necessary authority to ensure that those issues are nipped in the bud. For example, there was one isolated case of problem at but there's a place called Batala in Lower Bong County. Immediately the ECOWAS situation room picked up that they were able to notify the police, and that was sorted as fast as possible. At the women's situation room, I could see there was a separate place with the call center, quite massive, and we saw people there taking calls. All you just needed to do as a citizen is to place a call through to that situation room, and there they'll find a solution. So that is something that I feel that Nigeria and other African countries can learn from the Liberian election. Perhaps it's because they have the support of a lot of civil society organizations around the world who are very interested in saying the fact that this election works in Liberia. Also, I will have to say that I give a lot of kudos to the women of Liberia, because they've been so positioned beyond being the women leader of any party, or they are at the forefront governance in this country. Maybe they may not be occupying the position that we expect them to occupy. You could see the visibility. They are there, they are in charge, they're running things. It's like they say peace in our hands, and they are doing everything possible to ensure that there's a place they call the eminent situation. They're taking charge, and I think Nigerian women need to key into that. We need to come together and decide that this is what we want in our country. And I've discovered that for peace to reign anywhere, women have a critical role.
All right, Murtala, before we're almost losing connection with you, but we'd just like to thank you. And while we wait for the outcome of the Liberian elections, we'd like to congratulate the Liberian people for conducting a peaceful post-war presidential transition. Thank you, Murtala.
Thank you very much, Claire.
All right, you're still watching Good Morning Nigeria, and of course we have our second issue for conversation this morning, and that's on the Nigerian teacher. But we'll kick off with our conversation in a moment.
If you hear a bomb explosion or gunshots of an active shooter, that might be a terror attack. At such times, Always remember 3 action words. Run, hide, report. Don't try to run towards the terror scene to save the situation, because there might be a second bomb blast or another attack. Run far away and take cover. Make sure you are safe first. Yes, it is in our nature to sympathize over the hurt, but remember, only trained personnel can help in such situations. When in a secured environment, promptly call relevant authorities and help will come. For anonymous reporting, call 09630-3250-5 or 0813-2222-106. If you see something, say something. Nigeria, unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Happy Hour by Chivita. Burst of refreshment.
House of Chi.
It's about that time. States across the country coming together for one purpose, one goal. They are young. They are solution providers. The NTA ETV Children's Expo 2017, holding at the NTA Arena, Area 11, Garki, Abuja, with the theme Renewable Energy, Industrialization, Arts and Agriculture, as tools to bring Nigeria out of economic recession, with sub-themes post-harvest processing and preservation, and using arts and crafts to promote tourism. Date 22nd to 27th October 2017. This expo is open to ages 6 to 12 years for junior category and 13 to 18 years for the senior category. It's about the Art, Science and Technology Expo. For sponsorship consideration, please call the following numbers.
Another edition of TV Guide magazine is out with revealing accounts of trending stories. With the dwindling oil revenue, he says there is no reason to worry.
We strongly believe that culture is Nigerians' new oil, and we're going to show that by creating wealth, our art and culture will be a statement for all of us.
Our cover story is on Otumba Olusegun Runchewe, Director General, National Council for Arts and Culture. For upcoming TV presenters, elegant Elizabeth Banu tells you what it takes. A peep into the activities of the Presidential Committee on the Northeast Initiative, a mandate being fulfilled. A trip to the Yankari Games Reserve and Safari in Bauchi State brings you closer to nature. And the Oshun Oshogo Festival, our culture, our pride. Professor Adiku, the Vice-Chancellor, University of Abuja, tells us what it means to manage a university, plus our regular features, star profile, media issues, relationships, young minds, entertainment, sports, and lots more. Pick your copy now at the vendors or at every NTA station nationwide. TV Guide, still your indispensable companion.
If you just tuned in, the program is Good Morning Nigeria, showing live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA. Now to a background report to kickstart this conversation, taking a look at teachers generally. Well, it is common knowledge that teachers play key roles in the development of children in their various schools and in development of their lives. They wield some kind of influence and exert power on the society. Well, this status seemed to have eroded over the years due to a number of factors, including quackery and lack of encouragement. Now, what's more? Let's Timothy Yusuf let us into this background report.
Education is an inevitable tool for sustainable development and a vehicle for advancing the frontier of knowledge. In this regard, education has been recognized by many as a process of imparting knowledge, skills and attitudes to the learners. And the people responsible for discharging these duties are the teachers. It is a well-known fact that teachers build up good ethical principles and obedience in pupils and students, thereby helping to shape and reshape the characters of children under them. motivate and inculcate skills, knowledge, and build up personalities in a country. Perhaps this onerous task that the teacher undertake make the society to hold the teacher in high esteem in the 60s up to 80s. But the situation seems to have changed in the 90s up to the present time. Statistics show that 300,000 out of the 700,000 teachers in Nigerian schools are not qualified to teach, and out of this figure, 207,818 of them are in primary schools. This development called for consent to key players in the sector, and hence efforts are being made by government to reposition the teaching profession in line with other professional organizations. One of such measures is the 3-year ministerial strategic plan, and the critical elements of the plan is repositioning teacher education, capacity building, and professional development. In spite of the various recommendations and reforms over the years that targeted at repositioning teacher education in the country for optimal performance, the challenges facing teacher education in Nigeria are still numerous. What policies should be put in place now to facilitate the desired reform in the profession? What legislations should be promulgated to raise the standard of the teaching profession in line with global best practices?
Many thanks to you, Timothy Yusuf, for that background. And let me quickly introduce our guests. And they are themselves teachers of people, but themselves also pass through tutelage of teachers. Let me begin with Professor Josiah Olusegun Ajiboye, who is the Registrar and Chief Executive Officer of Teachers Registration Council of Nigeria, TRCN. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you very much. And good morning, Nigerians.
Also here with us in the studio is another professor, Musa May Samari, I hope I got that correct, Dean Faculty of Education at the University of Abuja. Thank you very much, Prof, for joining us.
Thank you very much, and good morning, Nigeria.
All right.
Yes, it's not just a professor seat for the teachers in the house. We also have the doctors joining us. We'd like to introduce this time Dr. Elizabeth Ebun Abolarin. She's the Director, Guidance and Counseling Unit, the FCT College of Education here in Zuba, Federal Capital Territory. I'd like to welcome you, Dr. Abolarin, to the program.
Thank you so much. Good morning, Nigerians.
From here, that's Abuja, we'll move over to Ibadan to welcome another guest where we're being joined by Emmanuel Olugbinga Salako, is a retired public secondary school principal in Oyo State. It's a pleasure to have you on the program, Mr. Salako.
Good morning and happy day.
Wish you a happy day as well. From Ibadan, we move over to the Coal City Enugu studio. We are being joined by Dr. Mike Ike Ene, is the Acting Secretary General and Union of Teachers. I would like to welcome you, Dr. Ene, I beg your pardon, Dr. Ene, to the program.
Thank you. Good morning, Nigerians.
Claire, I think we'll start off right away with you.
All right. Let's begin with, of course, the retired public secondary principal in Oyo State, of course, Emmanuel Olugbinga Salako. A few days ago, Nigerian teachers joined the rest of the world to mark World Teachers' Day. Can you share with us how it was celebrated?
Celebrated under stress and hardship because people were not even happy. They find it very difficult to enjoy themselves as a result of the situation the people are passing through at the moment. This has made the celebration a sort of unhappy way of their life. So many of them refused to even to go to the station, to the Liberty Stadium where they were doing all these things, and the life of the people at the surface is not all that commendable, because many of them having problem one way or the other as a result of their health status and their financial stand. This has that has brought about all these of problems that people are facing.
All right. Maybe I should also ask you a follow-up question because someone, an American professor, I'd just like to read it out to you, did celebrate teachers in these words. The future of the world is in my classroom, he says. Today, a future with potentials for good or bad. Several future presidents are learning from me today. So are great writers of the next decades, and those, of course, who will make decisions for our society. That's how he celebrated teachers. Do you think teachers ought to be celebrated, from your perspective?
Yes. Teachers are supposed to have been celebrated in a way that they give them the right thing they're supposed to have. The future teachers, even I'm afraid, if care is not taken, because many of our youths are not even interested in taking up the job. And the celebration we are making almost every year is a sort of a record making because of the situation surrounding the teachers who are expected to teach the pupils who have not been even be satisfied. They are not been given the right thing to use. No teaching materials, no teaching environment that is palatable for teaching. I mean, conducive classroom for learning. It is appalling to see that teachers are finding themselves in the position we find them today, and the future of it, we need to reorganize the teachers. If I would have even advised, if they can return teachers grade 2 to be in place again, so that the people will be trained in such way that they will have the methodology, they will have the commitment, and at the same time they will have interest in the work. Most of the people that will be important to the teaching service these days, majority of them are not thoroughly baked. So these are the things that is creating fear for the future of the teachers.
Very much, Mr. Salako. Now we will begin to break it down. Of course, on our panel this morning, we have professors, we have doctors. They have been taught at one point or the other of their life. Now, a society is set, the quality of education in a country or a society is set to, it cannot rise above the quality of teachers. Now, let's begin to break it down. And I'm going to start the next question. We'll send it to Enugu, where we have Dr. Mike Ike in Ene. Who is a teacher, or who is qualified to be called a teacher in the real sense of it?
In my opinion, a teacher is a professionally trained individual in any act of pedagogy that knows how to the act of giving knowledge, learning, and have all the skills a teacher should have. But however, more importantly is that for a professional teacher, for you not to be called a quack, you should be registered and licensed by Teachers Registration Council of Nigeria. That was established by Decree 31, now an act of the Federal Government of Nigeria, and their mandate is to regulate the teaching profession in this country. So if you are not registered, you are not licensed, you are not trained in any pedagogy to give knowledge, to give skills, to transform human beings to become better people in the society, we might not call you a teacher, but rather you become a quack. That is somebody who should be a teacher.
Thank Thank you very much, Dr. Ene. Now, if we have all this put in perspective, the art of pedagogic training like you have established, now somebody should have guided those line of thought. And that is why my next question is going to the guidance and counseling lady in our midst. And she's Dr. Elizabeth Abolarin. She's the director of the guidance and counseling unit. Now, we've seen attitude in teachers. We've seen attitude to the art of teaching other people, and so many other social malaise that is being poured upon society today. What exactly is wrong with the teaching profession in Nigeria, and why have we refused to have the quality, the desired quality of teachers today?
Thank you. Ideally, added to the definition of a teacher that we have been given, a teacher is also somebody who has internal qualities that can help the children. Take, for example, a teacher should be jovial, amiable, a lover of children, somebody who can be reliable under pressure, and somebody who is interested in the work. Because you want to build life. We are building life. We are not just working with equipment. So a teacher is a mother, is a father, is a counselor, you know. Is somebody who makes the child happy. So even while we have the qualifications and we are registered, if we do not have those inner characteristics that can make us to be a model that the children can admire, we will soon be fed up with the work. A teacher is somebody who is humble, who can come down to the level of the pupils. Again, a teacher should have the knowledge of the child, because you teach the child according to his or her age. The way an adolescent will be taught will be different from the way a 5-year-old child will be taught. So knowledge of child psychology is very important for a teacher before he or she will be able to teach appropriately. Now, on the side of the government, there is the need, because why do we have difficulties in teaching? There is the need for us to have a conducive environment of learning, an environment of learning that can be called a child-friendly environment, wherein the child will feel as if the home is replicated in the school, and the child will be comfortable to learn. But a situation wherein we have maybe 100 pupils in a class, we are not talking of private schools now, we are talking about public schools. We have 100 pupils in the class. How will the teacher find it easy to be able to attend to all the students at once? Even subjects like English language and mathematics, how will the teacher teach it? The teacher is under stress. There was a time I did a study on this stress of teachers in Nigeria. It was very frustrating, the result that I got. Why? Because teachers are having difficulties in handling their profession. Again, where is the instructional material that we use? Gone were the days when our teachers will say after me, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4. Oh, that one is abstract. Now we should be able to tell a child, if you are teaching a topic like fraction, their cardboard should be made available. Instructional material that are solid, that can be touched, or whether improvised or original, should be made available, so that when you want to say 1, our children now, they are so inquisitive, they will say 1 what? You have to say either 1 apple or 1 orange, so that the child will understand. It will also be easier for the teacher to impact knowledge upon the student. All right,
Dr. Ebon, let's pause it for a while, because I know the passion with which, as a mother and a teacher, you're talking about this issue. But we've all described the teacher. Blessing asked who the teacher is, and I thought that we should just lay the framework for who exactly is the teacher, and then we'll begin to look at the roles of the teacher, you know, and the expectations of the teacher, whether the teachers are also liable in, you know, the so-called standard of education, you know, that is declining today or not. But again, let me direct my question to TC, of course, Chief Executive Officer of TRCN. From all the descriptions and, you know, definitions of a teacher, does it then mean that anybody who engages in the practice of, in the service of teaching for, you know, reward, for salary, does that person qualify to be a teacher, or are there, you know, educational requirements for you to become a teacher?
Thank you very much. And let me start by thanking the management of the Nigerian Television Authority for putting this program in place. It is important for us to x-ray the role of a teacher in the society. Like you said when we started, no country can rise beyond the level of its education. And the same way, no education can rise beyond the level of its teachers. The teacher holds the key to any education system. Okay? I normally illustrate it by saying that the teacher holds both the yam and the knife. And that's why, in a developing country like ours, we need to examine the role of teachers and teaching profession in our country. For you to bring this program together, I'm very, very happy. And it should not be a once and for all thing because of World Teachers Day. You see, to the extent to which we aim to develop our country, to that extent we should be able to look at who actually handles our future. Our children, they are our future. And the people that handle those children should be very crucial, very important to us. And so the issue of teachers and teaching should be at the front burner of any country that is serious about its future, about development. And that's why the government has put in place the Teachers Regional Council of Nigeria. When you were asking Dr. Ene to define who a teacher is, I was just laughing. Yes, he has given us some good definitions in terms of what the teacher needs. But there is only one authority that can define who a teacher is in Nigeria. And that is the Teachers Regional Council of Nigeria.
So who is a teacher?
A teacher, by definition, according to the National Policy on Education, if you go by way of qualification, anybody that holds the minimum qualification for you to be called a teacher in Nigeria is the National Certificate in Education. That is NCE. Okay? But you could as well be hold a degree in education or a degree in other fields plus some other educational diploma programs like PGD and then professional diploma in education. All this, in terms of qualifications, makes you to be a teacher. But like you said, you need the knowledge, you need both the knowledge of the content and the knowledge of pedagogy. You need the skills, you need the competencies. And then we also have what we call the conducts and the values and the attitudes that are expected of you to acquire as a teacher for you to be able to effectively. So it's not just anybody. So you know, over the years, people now see teaching. They see it as an all-commerce affair. Anybody who cannot find a job, they will just say, this my child cannot get a job, commissioner or minister. Please let me get him a teaching job to manage. No, over the years we have seen teaching as an all-commerce affair. Teaching is a profession, it's an art. There's what we call the art and science of teaching. For goodness sake, it's not just what anybody can do. It's not just anybody that can stand in front of our children. Okay? So it's a profession. And in fact, it's not an ordinary profession. It is the mother of all other professions. We teach, others learn. Okay? We produce all these other professionals we are talking about. Is it lawyers? Is it engineers? We produce them. It is the teacher. Like we normally say, if you know how to write, thank your teacher. All these other professionals are produced by us. And so teaching is the mother of all other professions. And it should not be seen and should not be taken as an all-commerce affair where anybody who cannot get anything to do will just come in. And that's why regulation is in place now. With the establishment of the Teachers Regional Council of Nigeria, we have the law, we have everything in place now to professionalize teaching.
All right, thank you very much, Professor Ajiboye. How much the laws have been able to help the teacher and the teaching profession is what we're about to unravel the more. Now, let's join Professor Musame Samari, Dean, Faculty of Education, University of Abuja. Are teachers liable for the quality of education we have today?
Well, I would say yes and no. I would say no in the sense that in as much as the teacher is not responsible for recruiting other teachers, then we are not liable. And I'm saying this with all honesty. Even right now, I know there are states that are recruiting teachers. But what do? They give allocations to their cronies. Members of House of Assembly, you have 3 slots to go and bring teachers. Commissioners, you have 4 slots to go and bring teachers. And these people themselves do not know what it takes to be a teacher. And therefore, what they bring is to bring their political loyalists who are not trained, who are not even having the qualification that the registrar has just mentioned. Somebody with a BSc or a BA in any field is asked to come and teach. In some instances, you get people that do not have subjects in the school curriculum, primary or secondary school. They are asked to teach. I'm sorry, but take for example, somebody read quantity survey. You ask him to go to secondary school, oh, he can teach mathematics. For goodness sake, what would he do? Or somebody is an engineer. Engineering is a good profession. You ask him, let him go, he will teach physics because he read physics in secondary school. For goodness sake, what would he do? So, in that wise, teachers are not liable. But the managers of teachers, who themselves are not teachers, should be held responsible. And when I say managers of teachers, I want to see it from the very top, because the buck rests with the chief executive, either as a president of a nation or the governor of a state. Because if you make the law and you enforce it, then this thing must be obeyed.
Well, gentlemen and ladies, this morning, while we're going through the papers, Claire remembers some of the columns had issue of, well, at least the states were actually listed there. Kaduna State had to make about 22,000, about 33,000, but about 22,000, less than 22,000 actually failed primary 4 examination. And there were some other stories about some drug addicts being teachers in Kebbi State and some other instances of poor remuneration, as well as some other areas. This is a great concern.
Indeed. I'd just like to bring in Dr. Mike Ike Ene, who is the Acting Secretary General, to also look at the question Blessing has raised, whether or not Nigerian teachers are also liable in the quality of education that we have today. And then if you reflect, to the olden days where teachers were revered, they exerted great influence in the society. In fact, in some parts of the country, they were almost revered. They are the ones that got scholarships. They were the ones that were sent abroad to further their education. But today, like Blessing is pointing out, over 20,000 teachers failed to pass primary 4 exam. And these are teachers that are supposed to, impact knowledge in the future generations. So how do you just oppose that, Dr. Ene?
Question on what you raised this morning. First and foremost, I listened to the analysis this morning, and I was taken aback. In my first definition, I talked about Teachers Registration Council of Nigeria being in place, and I'm happy that the registrar and chief executive is a discussant this morning. Of course, the first question I want to ask is who employed these teachers? The so-called teachers in quotes, who employed them? My educated colleague has said it, that in the good olden days, 60s, 70s, down to 80s, when teachers were revered, you get the best hands. But sometime in 90s to today, what we do now is a political patronage, where anybody, any minister, any commissioner, any officer can just go by the wayside, collect a woman that is selling onions, crayfish, oil, and say, come and teach, because there is vacancy. And nobody interviews this person. And beyond that, the question is, what kind of exams are we talking about? Today, the only body that has rights to regulate the standard of teaching profession in this country is Teachers Registration Council of Nigeria, QED. Therefore, for somebody to say that you set exams for millions of teachers and they failed, of course, some teachers might be quacks. No professional teacher can fail any exams. I don't believe in it. I disagree with them. And of course, for that person who is setting it, if I ask that person to sing national anthem, he cannot get one stanza. So it's easy to criticize, it's easy to allude, and of course, what empirical data do they have to say that? What syllabus do they use? So I'm saying that the teachers are not liable. My colleague has said it, is the managers of education. I want to praise His Excellency, the Governor of Enugu State, for what he recently did. When he wanted to recruit teachers recently, he invited the Teachers Registration Council of Nigeria. That is what it should be. So that, like what we have said, first and foremost, ab initio, you will now begin to decipher these people to be recruited. Do they have the basic qualification to be recruited? It is not all Tom, Harry, and Dyke to come because it is all commerce affairs. It is no longer like that. So I stand to say, or I see to say, that what Kaduna State government said needs much to be desired. And we disagree with that submission. That's my take this morning.
Let me, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Let me come in here. I have to weigh in on this because it's very important. I respect the Kaduna State governor. He's a man who has served this country in several capacities. But I also want to believe that the point that is being raised by my colleague over there is very valid. Look, I'm a professor today. Give me, I read economics O-level. If you give me O-level economics exam today, I will utterly fail.
Why?
Because I've lost everything about economics since I left O-level. So who designed the test? What kind of test did they design? Okay? Was it a test of ability? Was it a test of their content that they teach? Was it a test? Was it general knowledge? If you say who is the president of so country, you send so that's
but is
why
knowledge not supposed to be continuous or whatever level you've started off and continue.
It's not. Let me tell you the truth. That's why a test we talk of validity and reliability of the test. Okay, we are talking of validity. Look, let us be careful in what we do. We don't do some of these things to disparage and to ridicule our teachers. Okay, it's important for us to know this. The teachers we are talking about, in the first instance, like what my colleague here said, who recruited them. We know in Nigeria today there are so many, like your report actually stated. I put it in my paper that I presented on World Teachers Day, that we have over 300,000 unqualified teachers in the first instance. It's not that they are not registered with TRCN. They are not qualified to be in the classroom. Okay, so when you are talking of giving a test to this kind of teachers, what do you expect?
Fail.
Okay, let's move away from the test and really talk about the issues, because if like everyone agrees that the gatekeeper for the quality of teachers that we employ is still the TRCN,
yes,
that again brings the issue back to your doorstep. You have been the gatekeeper, so have you been sleeping all the while these quacks are entering into the profession?
Thank you very much. It was the realization of this quackery, that brought about, in Nigeria, nobody knew about quack food and drugs before until NAFDAC was established. The same way, when we noticed that some people have entered into the profession of teaching illegally, quacks who do not know anything about the classroom. That's why the government set up the Teachers Registration Council of Nigeria. And let me tell you, we have been able to look at the various states of the country. We have been able to identify the number of teachers that are not even qualified to be in the classroom at all in the various states. And I want to say there are some states that are some of the states in the country, they have started addressing these issues. I know a particular state. Okay, if I can mention it, Kano State, for instance. Okay, we put it to the Kano State government. Look, you have so large number of unqualified teachers in your school. And I want to thank the Excellency, the Governor of Kano State, and the Deputy Governor, who is a professor, like me. He also doubled as the Commissioner for Education, Professor Hafiz. Actually, he took the bull by the horn. And they addressed it. Over 8,000 teachers have been made to qualified in Kano State alone, within a period of 1 year, taking them through NCE programs, crash NCE programs, and also a professional diploma program to make sure that they get them to understand the rudiments of the classroom operations. And this is what we are talking about. Look, the TRCN today is not only backing, it can bite. They know that we have the law on our side. You know, in the country before, anybody can just bring any goods and all this kind of thing, include drugs and foods. But later on, when NAFDAC was established, NAFDAC arrested that situation. Okay, the same way, TRCN has come to arrest the issue of quackery in the teaching profession.
Okay, Dr. Abolari, you've listened, and of course, we know that there are teachers or people who are teaching, both at the primary, secondary, and tertiary institutions, who are qualified but are not necessarily registered under the TRCN. Now, does registration under TRCN necessarily confers professionalism on the teachers?
What confers professionalism is the qualification, the real qualification, the skill of teaching, and then the registration. Nonetheless, the outcome of our work, the production, the outcome of teaching, which is pupils' performance, teachers' performance, actually dictates the professionalism of a teacher. It's not just on paper, but what the outcome of our teaching, the outcome of exam, the success in exam of our pupils. So I will say that even if we register in TRCN and we have paper qualification, there is still the need for us to be developed, either in service training. While we are still teaching, we continue to be trained. They build capacity in us to be able to teach, because it is a vocational service. It is something that is real. It's not just on paper. So I will add that it is not sufficient for us to have the qualification on paper and then the registration that will make us to be recognized. But the product, our product, really confirms who we are as teachers. Okay. Thank you.
All right, still with you before we go back to Ibadan, where we still have retired secondary school principal. Now, would you say society has failed the teacher, or generally for teaching profession? Because we talked about pre-independence and even up to 60s, 70s, 80s, the high regard we had for them. Is society failing the teacher in any way? Dr. Abolari. Dr. Elizabeth, still with you.
Okay. Well, to me, the society has failed, especially to fulfill our policy on teacher education. The first statement on our policy is to produce highly motivated, conscientious, and efficient teachers. And we have not been able, the society has not been able to motivate the teacher. Two,
what kind of motivation are you doing?
Motivation comes in reward. It comes in the way we are recognized in the society. Take, for example, you realize that even our children highly associate or identify with teaching as a profession. The children of doctors can easily put on the stethoscope and say, oh, I want to. But when you are a teacher, your children will really associate with that profession. Why? Because of the way we are rated in the society. And most importantly, we are poorly paid. The financial reward is very low.
All right. No. Thank you very much, Dr. Elizabeth Abolari. We'll go on this break, ladies and gentlemen. When we return, motivation for remuneration, where the teacher needs to do more for themselves too, because for them, it's after you're being paid, so you should even get that motivation in the first instance. And what society, wealth, promotion, and all the likes have actually done to the teacher and the teaching profession. We'll take a look at some of the other factors when we return from this break. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria.
You are watching NTA, Nigerian Television Authority. For more information and news updates, visit our website at www.nta.ng, or you can follow us on Twitter at NTA News Now, or you can like us on Facebook at NTA Network News. Stay connected on our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/NTA News Online. Watch our live stream at www.nta.ng/live. NTA, you can't beat the rich.
Right, welcome back. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria, and we're discussing the Nigerian teacher. Earlier on, before we went on the short break, Dr. Ebun Abolare talked about, outcomes of exams that are conducted, and of course, over the years, we've seen outcomes of examinations from, of course, a WAEC to NECO to JAM and all that. Oscillating between improvement and, of course, retrogression. I'm going to ask Mr. Salako, who is, of course, joining us from our Ibadan studio. Do you think that speaks to capacity building or lack of motivation, as Dr. Ebun observed earlier on?
Thank you. The problem is not far-fetched. Most of the time, the failure could be of two ways. It could be as a result of the children themselves, or as a result of the teacher. If the parents do not give the appropriate materials for their children, and this was actually happening, most of the students these days do not have textbooks, even writing materials, because of the poverty. And at the same time, teachers are not happy in some areas as a result of poor wages they are receiving. Most of the time, even when teacher wants to get an apartment, they will say it's not for teachers. This has been a way to molest them and put them to ridicule in the society. And when one is not happy, hardly such a person could discharge a duty that is worthwhile. I want to say again that the teachers in Nigeria have been underrated, and what government should do to help the education is that they should also recognize the profession and put them apart with other professions, giving them exact things that other professions are enjoying, so that they will be able to perform their duties, working effectively, putting on the interest of the pupils in mind. Actually, teachers are dedicated. According to John Dewey, he said human being is like a machine. When lubricated, the machine will perform better. If teachers is also pay a good wages, putting them on special scale, they will perform better, because an hungry man is an angry man. So in most cases, failure comes from the students. Some of them, they are now rest on the phones they are putting on, cheating the exam, looking for juice instead of staying in the classroom. Most of these children in our society, the parents do have nothing. They do not say anything about them, but they will apportion the blame to the teacher who is in the classroom while the pupils are outside the school. They move about. They will not stay in the classroom, and the teacher cannot even be running after them since they are not in the school. These are those things that is contributing to the failure of the students. Apart from that, we can even realize that teachers are dedicated. They have the mind of bringing new nation. That is, they will provide. They want to be. They want to train the child to a level of greatness by giving them the materials they need. That is, teaching them right things, and that is why teachers used to prepare their lesson notes. They go to the class and dish out facts for them. So it is not the teachers that is causing the failure, but mostly the parents and the children are involved seriously. Why the other side of it is the problem of the government as a result of the remuneration. For this, I think failure does not make it's not the failure. It is not teachers that cause the failure per se. It is the community and the government. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's bring in Professor May Samari, to also comment on this issue. Today's teacher, in other climes, you discover that you now have a kind of interactive classroom system with, of course, modern, teaching aids. But you still have parts of the country where teachers are still using blackboards, chalks, dusters, and all that.
Where they're even existing. Sometimes under the tree learning.
Exactly. So, do the Nigerian teacher today have the capacity, the 21st century capacity, to teach?
Yeah, definitely I would tell you that we are lacking. And the question is, why are we lacking? Our training environment has not been so rich enough to enable us compete like any other teacher in the developed world. Some of these gadgets, we only read them in books as we teach them. They are not there. I want to assure you, as a professor, I go for accreditation. One of the basic things we require is a technology center where teachers should be trained in handling some of these gadgets. But how many of our universities actually have them? And whose responsibility is it to provide those things for the training of teachers to enable them even use them when they get out? They are not there. And so when ASU begins to cry for funding, people will malign us by saying they are asking for money into their pockets. That's not the truth. We are asking for enough funding to provide enough training materials in all professions. That of the teachers is the one you look at it, and it is neglected because the consequence is always very slow. It takes time to see. But if it is of the doctor, where person will die immediately, people will cry. But remember, the collapse of a nation is not as a result of failures of doctors or engineers. It's as a result of failures of teachers. Because teaching, as has been said, is the mother of all professions. All other professions will eventually die if you kill the teaching profession. And so, we call on government. We are lacking. We cannot pretend about those realities. And it is the responsibility of government or the proprietors of these schools to be able to provide what it takes to make us work in accordance and with the competencies needed of the 21st century.
You talk about training. Sorry, Blessing. We have TED Fund.
Yes.
We of course, we have some, budget for training of teachers. We have UBEC. UBEC also has some, budget for training. You also have the Teachers Development Fund as well.
Yes.
So, what is the challenge with, not being able to...
The challenge is, does it get to the teacher? And let me ask this one. Some 3-4 years, there was this program going on of the MDG, Millennium Development Goal, where teachers were given continuous professional development training. How long does it take them to do that? Probably 5 days. And how many teachers benefited? And who choose who to benefit? These are the issues. Are the real teachers involved? Or it becomes an issue. Oh, money is there. Who do you want to send? Who do you have? Who is your favorite? Not who is doing the job. And the issue is our managers must take the issues of education outside politics. There should be no politicking about educational matters. Sincerity and ability to give the best quality in order to provide the best services should be the foremost consideration. And if that is not done, then definitely all that we are saying, we will go back to square one. We will be lacking.
Well, Professor Misamari, Professor Josiah here, as well as Dr. Elizabeth, our two guests in Ibadan, Enugu. We have reactions already from Nigerians who are watching this program, and they are as well concerned about the issues being raised here. We'll run through them, and we'll take a look at other factors that we need to consider this morning as we talk about teachers and teaching professions. Okay, you want to start?
All right. Abdul Jalil tweets, the Nigerian teacher today really gets a broken heart because of poor infrastructure, no matter what he wants to put in.
Sunny Michael Omakoji has this tweet: for a supposed teacher to fail an examination meant for pupils suggests that our educational sector is in a mess.
And Sunday Wale tweets, government should let the take-home pay of teachers take them really home.
And some other places. Dele Jack Solomon, one veritable solution to teachers' problem in Nigeria is to make it compulsory for the children of the elites, politicians, and public office holders to attend public schools.
Abdullahi S. Unisabe tweets, teachers are entrusted with development of a rising generation, but unfortunately, they are poorly paid and badly treated. They are owed salaries.
Ibeneme Dominic has a tweet: the military incapacitated public education in Nigeria. With focus and dedication, we can restore it back. Teachers trained all of them.
And Clifford Agweguse tweets, with due respect to opinions generated on this issue, I think Nigeria needs not just an ICT university, but many ICTs universities.
Mike Ayako has this tweet: the reward of teachers in Nigeria is no longer in heaven. They have joined the bourgeois class. Teachers are relevant to national development.
And again, Sani Michael Omakoji tweets, in Malaysia, teaching is the most earned profession next to software developers, but in Nigeria, they are treated as beggars.
James O, that's a Twitter handler there, says public school teachers should put more effort to redeem the image of our basic education system.
And Festus Akimboyewa tweets, unfair treatment teachers receive from parents, school administrators, and politicians are all responsible for low status of Nigerian teachers. We should redefine the way we think about and value our teachers.
You don't guess it. Michael has a tweet: please, we should move away from making NCE the qualification for teaching in primary school in Nigeria.
And Ejikeme Onwuka tweets, everybody says that teachers are very crucial in our development as a nation, but nobody really cares about teachers in this country.
For Sakiru, his own concern is no child is bad. It's either parent or teacher that is bad. Students failed because teachers are failures.
All right, I think the final one is from Godfrey Uzu Ogbano. Governors to declare a state of emergency on education, the same exam in Kaduna to take place in all states to rescue Nigerian education.
Well, I think that's for the Nigerian Union of Teachers and the regulatory body to decide on what kind of examination. And now, okay.
All right, you're still watching Good Morning Nigeria. Let's bring in again to Enugu, Dr. Mike Ike, and we'd just like for you to also talk briefly on the issue of capacity building and whether or not you think that there's been a deliberate, attention given to Nigerian teachers in terms of building their capacities.
Thank you. Talking about capacity building, one of the greatest problems we have about education is that education is on a concurrent list. So you find out that when there is a policy, you keep having this policy somersault here and there. So I wouldn't say, like my colleague did say, when we started this MDG, capacity building of teachers, the big question will be, how many did we capture? And are we really sure that those who attended those capacity building workshops, that they are teachers? Very many of them, by our investigation, we are still based on political patronage. Somebody somewhere, because monetary involvement was there, we are bringing people from outside to go and attend such development or capacity buildings. So you find out that until the will is there, there will be no way. I believe that I want to advise that education that holds the key should be taken very, very seriously, because you find out that at all levels, some are serious, some are not serious. Some are still politicking with education. And like my colleague did say, as long as we keep politicking with education, we might not make a headway. Today, I want to let you know that despite all odds, our teachers are still doing their best. Their old salaries, 11 months, 1 year or more, they are still going to school. They are not daunted. They are still doing their best. The missionaries came with education, and the teachers are still contributing. But by and large, we are saying that our governments at various levels should do more and allow the education planners to execute some of these things. Because very many a time too, the budget takes, the educational budget takes the biggest amount, but at the end of the day, how much actually gets into the development of education, actually, either by remuneration or by development of the teacher or thereabout. You find out that these things fizzle out. And these are the problems. And of course, let me use this opportunity to say that at the basic level, the primary and secondary, which is the foundation, that today we don't have teacher retention. Our teachers are retiring in their thousands and no replacement is being done. So we are saying, let me use this word to say, that we are saying we need teacher retention to go to 65 years, like you have in high institutions, because our research has shown that the older, the better, the more experienced, so that we cannot be losing these teachers in their thousands, where governments are not prepared to replace these teachers, because when they calculate what they are going to pay, there is no kickback, there is no kick front, they are not prepared to employ teachers. And as a result, teachers, we are losing the good hands, and that is why when we don't have these good hands, politicians go and they get these quacks, and they come and be failing, and at the end of the day, somebody will say a teacher has failed primary 4 exams, which does not exist. So I think that our governments at various levels should do more to support education so that I can move to the next level.
Mike Iken, would like to thank you very much for this contribution. You talked about concurrent lists, the fact that education is placed on the concurrent list earlier on, and indeed some people feel that the problems with the Nigerian education system, in terms of some state governments not being able to meet up with the salary issues and have been owing teachers quite a number of salary arrears and all that, is the fact that education is still on the concurrent list, and they are suggesting that look, this should be moved to the exclusive list. Probably that will, when you give the federal government the control over education or education matters, it will solve the issue of non-payment of salaries. Let me start with the TRC and registrar. Yeah,
well, thank you very much. There are a lot of thinkings going on with regards to the status of education. But from all we can gather this morning, even from the comments of our viewers, you can see that there is urgent need to address the issue of education in this country. In fact, if we are, there is a need for us to even declare a state of emergency in education in Nigeria, because we are in a crisis situation. And if we need to come out of this, look, about last year, when we had the National Council on Education meeting, the focus was on the teacher quality as a tool for professional, as a tool for national development. Okay, if we want our country to develop, we are talking about 2020. Year 2020, development in Nigeria gets been among the 20 developed countries by the year 2020. You need education to get there. Okay, and this education is being piloted by a group, and that group are the teachers. And I want to say that this present government, actually, if you look at the ministerial strategic plan, exactly, we're going to ask that. If you look at what our minister has put in place, the 3-year ministerial strategic plan, you will see that the issue of the teacher was put at the front burner. And I'm also aware that very soon there's going to be a convocation of a retreat for even at the presidential level, which is being planned by our minister, to make sure that we galvanize everybody to see the urgent need to address these issues. Because look, if we don't take this issue of the teacher and education generally seriously as a nation, there's nowhere we are going.
So what other ways can we better tool the teachers for today's 21st century kind of teaching that we need?
Yes. Look, we are talking of teacher and technology, for example. When you are talking of teacher and technology, I normally tell our teachers, technology will not replace teachers. But teachers who know how to use technology will probably replace those who do not know how to use it. Okay? And so, a 21st century teacher supposed not to be what you call a BBC teacher. You know a BBC teacher? A born before computer teacher. You know? A born before, you cannot function in that capacity as a 21st century teacher. There are so many things that our teachers, in terms of their education, the way we prepare them. Look, if the lawyers finish from their various institutions, they still go to the law school. Why don't we put something in place to make sure that when those who read education, when they finish, they will go to a particular place, like in Malaysia that somebody mentioned. They have what they call, National Institute of Education. The National Institute of Education, prepares the teacher purely on pedagogical issues for a whole year, so that the kind of teaching in Finland, for example, they make sure that their top-rated secondary school leavers are the one recruited into teaching profession. All the others can go to all other professions, but the teaching profession is very sacrosanct. Is taken as very highly important. Okay. I want to use this example. In Germany, for example, other professionals went to Angela Merkel. They said, we want to be paid the same salary like teachers. Angela Merkel said,
Angela.
Yes, how can I pay you the same salary with those who teach you? It's not possible. We have to put the teacher in their right place, right position. Okay? If this country, let me tell you, I want to really appreciate the Honorable Minister of Education, Malam Adamu, and his team for what they are doing presently. I think if we are able to really put the issue of education on the national front burner, this thing about removing it from concurrent list and all this we are able to look at it very well. So many people are saying devolution of powers and things like that. But if we want to get education right, I think we need to critically look at that issue so that we'll be able to put education in its... Yes, education is interconnected to health, to agriculture, to everything. Okay? So if we put education first, I think we're going to get it right.
Okay, Professor Ajiboye, let's bring in Dr. I'm sorry, Dr. Abolari here into this conversation. Do you think that delisting education from the concurrent list will address the issues of politics in recruitment of teachers, as Professor May Samari has said, and all other persons? Would it also address the issues of non-payment of teachers' salaries? Because NUT has come out to say, look, about 13 or so state governments are still owing teachers, months and months of unpaid salaries and allowances and arrears and all that. So do you think that is a way out of all these, challenges?
Thank you. Actually, all that we are saying is that education should be given priority. Like I think UNESCO says 26% of every minimum of 26% of every budget should be given to national budget should be given to education. But in our nation, where they have been given less than 10%, I think it was in 2012 that they gave 10%. Now, I think this year, in fact, this 2017 seems to be the lowest thus far. Now, we know that education cannot solve all problems, but without education, no problem will be solved. We talk of exam malpractice, we talk of cultism. It's because we are having problem in education. When somebody is not educated, he envies the person who is educated. When somebody is not educated, he doesn't see value in life. So he wants to kill himself and to destroy others. So the earlier I'm saying that when we remove it from concurrent list and put it on priority list,
that's exclusive list. That's the exclusive list.
Exclusive list. That will help us a long way to solve the problem. One, teachers will be more motivated, even though we know there is no salary that is sufficient. But let our salary be sustainable. let us be recognized in the society. Let us be respected in the society. So I'm thinking if the government is able, you know, to put it on exclusive list, that will go a long way to solve our problem. Teachers that are not yet paid, they will be paid. Then teachers' salary will be enhanced. I remember around 2004, I was a CEO. My salary was just maybe 70,000 naira. CEO. And so you can imagine, even teachers that are just you know, starting. I think they start with them now on maybe 45,000 naira. If we are to live in a convenient accommodation in this Abuja, you will be a single room that is convenient will be running to 150,000 naira, 180,000 naira. It means if a teacher saves maybe about 15,000 naira towards his payments of his accommodation at the end of the year, 45,000 minus 15,000, it remains 30,000. If he eats 1,000 naira food, if he eats 1,000 naira,
it has to be some particular part in Abuja.
in the rural area, just as we are saying, when people sell you clothes, bring clothes to teachers, they will say, this is your own, don't pick this one. If you pick this one, you will pay 10 times. But this is the category of teachers. This one is the category of engineers. So what I'm saying is that if a teacher earns a graduate teacher earns 45,000 naira and then saves maybe 15,000 for accommodation, it remains 30,000. It means if he eats 1,000 naira per day, the money has finished. Transportation, everything.
We'll feel your passion for as many who you have taught who have that same problem of remuneration.
So let them give education priority.
Okay.
Then most of our problems
thank you very much. Thank you very much. Well, now let's get the views, closing views from Mr. Salako, the retired public secondary principal. We'll come back and get that of Professor Misamari here. Just quickly, in 30 seconds. Now, degrading of teachers in the minds of people, students, everyone, society, it's key. What should we do to actually address that issue generally? In 30 seconds.
Sincerely, the success of the student depends on the teacher and the life of the teacher itself. If anyone at all wants life to be somehow recognized, teachers must be one of those people to be recognized. And it will help the subject under them as well. Because if teachers are not well, the students also are sick. It is the teacher that will determine what the student will become. You cannot become what you are doing. You cannot become anything without the particular thing that is making you. Teacher is making life for the student, and the student also will be under this teacher for some time. If teacher is well remunerated and their welfare is very important, maybe in some, I heard of some countries that they used to give health insurance for their teachers. That is safety of life. If you have confidence in the work, in the government you are working for, and the government also is working well with you, definitely you have something to fall back on. Like the councillor said the other time, that somebody having small money living in Abuja, how will he be able to survive? It's
very much, Mr. Emmanuel Olugminga Salako, retired public secondary school principal. You joined us from our Ibadan studio. We appreciate your time and contribution to this discussion today. Thank you very much.
All right, let's take a final word from Professor Musa Samari. I'm struggling my summary. Yeah. Okay, now you talked about the need to replace retiring teachers. Unfortunately, most of our future generations are not even interested in taking up teaching as a career. Now, what kind of priority should we be given, to the teaching profession to revive, in the interest?
Well, let me say it is how the teachers are regarded by both parents, the teachers, and its employers that will make the teacher have what he believes is quite dignifying and will spur him to want to be a teacher and remain a teacher. I give an example. When I finished my secondary school, I had the option of reading law. I chose to go to College of Education because I was from a village. And in my village, the most revered person was not the pastor, was not the imam, was not the chief, it was the headmaster. And that was what I wanted to be. Today, what is the teacher regarded? You go to a party, if you are introduced as a teacher, nobody even wants to give you a seat. Even in a church, when they are calling for people to do donation, nobody wants to mention your name. It's the reverse. And why is it so? Because he has nothing to offer. So we are going back to the motivation. We are going back to give teacher what it takes to make him happy and makes him to want to do the job. We were told of what is happening in Germany. The teacher is paid higher than the medical doctor, than the engineer. Why? Because he made the engineer,
we have to round you up. You have
so
to summon.
What I'm just saying is that the teachers must be better motivated, better remunerated, and be considered with high esteem by both parents and government. Thank you.
The teachers should be ready to be trained and be motivated. Thank you very much. Professor Musa Mesamari, Dean, Faculty of Education, University of Abuja. I would like to appreciate you for coming on the program this morning.
Thank you very much.
We'd also like to thank Professor Josiah Olusegun Ajiboye, Registrar and Chief Executive Officer of Teachers Registration Council of Nigeria.
No opportunity for last word?
No, you've said that already, sir. Thank you very much. They've said that on your behalf. Thank you very much. Dr. Elizabeth Ebun Abolorin, Director of Guidance and Counseling Unit, FCT College of Education, Zuba. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
We'd also like to appreciate Dr. Mike Ike-Ene, Acting Secretary General, NUT, joined us from our Enugu studio. It was a great delight talking with every one of you. Thank you very much. Okay, to our complimentary segment.
Yes, and we'll take sports, and Nigeria Football Federation promises adequate preparation for the Super Eagles ahead of Russia 2018. Time to join our sports desk now.
Having qualified for the 2018 FIFA World Cup in Russia, the NFF says top quality-friendly matches against highly rated teams are being lined up for the Super Eagles of Nigeria. Nigeria became the first African nation to book one of the 5 spaces reserved for Africa at next summer's World Cup with a 1-0 victory over the Chief Polo Polo of Zambia weekend at the Godswill Akpabio Stadium in Uyo. President of the NFF, Amaju Pinnick, said that the job for now was to get the Eagles ready for a credible outing, adding that the football governing body has started consultations to ensure proper preparations. And the Nigerian Roller Sports Federation has invited 15 male and female athletes to camp ahead of the African Skating Championship slated for Lomé, Togo in December. 50 athletes from 35 states participated in the 2-day trials. The athletes selected in track events and marathon at the National Stadium Lagos are Abu Sadiq Abdul Rashid, Tunde Shola, Solomon Brown, Kevin Vitani, and Samuel Iganga, among others. Chairman, Technical Committee of the Federation, Kingsley Nkisa, stated that the athletes would go into close camping in November. The Federation expressed confidence in the selected athletes, adding that they will be good ambassadors of the country in Togo. And in tennis, Andy Murray and Serena Williams are set to play at the Australian Open in January, according to tournament director Craig Tillier. British #1 Murray has not played since July when a hip injury hampered him in a quarter-final defeat at Wimbledon, while Williams gave birth to her first child in September.
Well, now let's join the Nigerian Meteorological Agency for the weather forecast for the rest of today.
Welcome. We expect to begin Wednesday with mostly partly cloudy skies around the northwestern parts of the country. Conversely, more dryness is anticipated along the northeastern region, which is expected to reduce temperatures around this axis. Fresh dust was raised around the source region, and this should affect some parts of the northeastern parts of the country, particularly areas around Unguru and northern Borno. But nothing really to worry about, as it will not affect flight activities. Other parts of the central states and the inland cities of the southwest should be cloudy to partly cloudy. with possibilities of isolated thunderstorms around some parts of Ondo, Ogun states, as well as the coastal belt. As we approach the afternoon, scattered thunderstorms around the central states and the stretch of the south are most probable. And for the maximum and minimum temperature for Wednesday, please stand by for the details. See you again.
That's Good Morning Nigeria for today, the midweek edition. We hope you find time to join us. Please find time to join us tomorrow. My name is Blessing Abu. Thank you for watching.
And I'm Claire Adelabu Abdurazak. Do have a wonderful day.